The evening sun was slowly setting, painting the city with soft golden light. The streets were busy with people rushing home, cars honking, and vendors calling out to sell the last of their goods. Among the noise and rush, a mother and her young daughter walked side by side. The mother's clothes were simple and worn out, but her dignity was clear in the way she held her head high. Her daughter, no older than 12, held her hand tightly. The little girl's eyes were full of dreams, her heart full of questions about life. They were not rich. In fact, they struggled each day to survive. But the bond between the mother and daughter was strong. They shared laughter in small things, hope in hard times, and comfort in silence. To the girl, her mother was the strongest woman in the world. As they reached the crossing, something unexpected happened. A luxury black car came to a sudden stop right in front of them. The car was polished like glass, shining under the city lights. It was not an ordinary car. It was the kind of car only the very rich could own. The daughter looked at the car with wide eyes. She had never seen something so expensive so close. She whispered softly, "Mama, look at that car, it's like something from a dream." The mother, however, felt her chest tighten. Her steps froze. Her grip on her daughter's hand became stronger. There was something about that car, something about the silence that came with it. Slowly, the dark window of the car rolled down. Inside sat a man in a sharp black suit. His face was calm, his eyes deep and unreadable. He was not just a man, he was a CEO, known in the city for his power and wealth. Many feared him, many respected him, but very few truly knew him. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The noise of the street faded away. It was just the mother, her daughter, and the silent man in the car. The girl tilted her head, curious. "Mama, who is he? Why is he looking at us like that?" But the mother did not answer. Her lips trembled, her eyes lowered. She knew that face. She remembered those eyes. They carried something she wished to forget, something from her past. The CEO did not speak. His lips stayed closed, but his gaze was fixed on them. Silence filled the air, a silence so heavy that it made the mother's heart race. She wanted to turn away, but her feet would not move. The daughter tugged on her mother's hand, whispering again, "Mama, say something, why isn't he talking?" The mother forced a small smile, though her eyes were wet. "Come, my child. Let's go." But even as they stepped back, the CEO's car did not move. His silence followed them like a shadow. His eyes seemed to hold a story untold, a story buried in the past. The daughter turned her head again, still staring at the man. She could not understand why he stayed silent, why his eyes looked almost sad. In her young heart, curiosity began to grow. She felt something important had just happened, something she could not explain. She wanted to know who that man was, and why her mother was so afraid. But the mother walked faster now, pulling her daughter away from the car. Her heart was beating painfully, her thoughts clouded with memories she wished were gone. The CEO's silence was not empty. It was loud, louder than any words. It was the silence of recognition, of a past connection that could not be erased. As the car finally drove away, the mother stopped in the corner of the street. She leaned against a wall, her hand pressed to her chest. Tears filled her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away before her daughter could see. The girl touched her mother's arm gently. "Mama, are you okay? You look scared." The mother shook her head softly. "No, my child. I am fine." But deep inside, she knew nothing was fine. That silent encounter had opened an old wound in her heart, a wound she had hidden for years. That night, as they sat in their small home, the daughter could not stop thinking about the man in the car. She whispered in the dark, "Why didn't he say anything? Why did he only look at us?" The mother lay beside her, pretending to sleep. But her eyes were wide open. She knew the silence of the CEO was not the end. It was only the beginning of something bigger, something that could change their lives forever. Nobody on that street noticed what had happened. Nobody knew that a single moment of silence could carry so much weight. But for the mother, her daughter, and the CEO, that unexpected encounter was just the start of a story nobody could imagine. The night was quiet, but inside the small house, the mother's heart was loud. She lay on the old bed with her daughter beside her. The room was simple, cracked walls, a flickering bulb, and the soft sound of crickets outside. The daughter was half asleep, but the mother could not close her eyes. Her mind kept replaying the same moment, the black car, the silent man, those piercing eyes. His silence spoke louder than anything. It was a silence full of questions, full of memories she wanted to bury. The daughter suddenly turned in her sleep and whispered, "Mama, why didn't he say anything?" Her eyes were closed, but her words stabbed the mother's heart. She placed her hand on her daughter's head gently. "Sleep, my child. You ask too many questions." But when the girl finally drifted back into dreams, the mother stared at the dark ceiling. She whispered to herself, "His silence means something, something I cannot tell her." The next morning, the daughter woke with fresh curiosity in her heart. She remembered the black car, the sharp suit, the man's eyes. She wanted to ask again, but she saw the tiredness in her mother's face. She decided to wait. Still, she could not stop thinking about him. She felt as if the silence from yesterday had followed her into today. It was strange, heavy, almost like a secret waiting to be told. At school, while other children laughed and played, she sat quietly, lost in thought. Her friend asked, "Why are you so quiet today?" The girl just shook her head. How could she explain something she didn't even understand? Meanwhile, the mother went to the market. She bought vegetables with the little money she had. But she kept looking around, worried. Every passing car made her heart jump. She feared she might see him again. She prayed not to. Yet deep inside, a part of her wondered if fate was pushing them back together. She hated the thought. She wanted her past to remain buried. She wanted her daughter safe from those shadows. As she returned home, she saw her daughter waiting by the window. The girl ran to her, holding the bag of vegetables, smiling. But behind the smile, the mother saw questions. She felt the weight of silence between them. That evening, the daughter finally asked again, "Mama, do you know that man?" The mother froze. Her hands trembled. For a moment, she thought of lying. But when she looked into her daughter's innocent eyes, her heart broke. She forced a calm voice and said, "No, my child. He is just a man with a big car. Nothing more." The daughter frowned. She did not believe it. She had seen the way her mother's face changed yesterday. She had seen the fear. She had seen the sadness. The girl whispered, "But Mama, his eyes, they looked like he knew you." The mother turned away quickly. She did not want her daughter to see the tears forming in her eyes. She said firmly, "Some things are better left unspoken. Do not think about it again." But the more the mother tried to hide, the more the daughter's curiosity grew. That night, the daughter could not sleep. She kept replaying the scene in her mind. The man's silence, his sad eyes, her mother's fear. She whispered to herself, "I will find out who he is, even if Mama doesn't tell me." Outside, the city lights shone, and somewhere in the tallest building, the CEO stood in his office. His back was straight, his hands behind him, but his heart was heavy. He stared at a photo hidden inside his desk. A photo of a young woman, the same woman who had walked past his car yesterday. His lips moved, but no sound came out. His silence was filled with regret. He whispered to himself, "After all these years, why now?" The mother, in her small room, lay awake too. She held her daughter close and prayed silently, "Please, let this past remain silent. Let it not touch my child's life." But fate was already moving. The silence between her and the CEO was not going to last. It was not the end. It was only the beginning. Nobody in that house, and nobody in that tall building, knew that destiny was about to twist their lives together once again. The silence had already spoken. The morning was calm, but inside the mother's heart, a storm was rising. She prepared breakfast for her daughter, placing a simple piece of bread and a cup of milk on the table. She smiled at her little girl, trying to hide the heaviness in her chest. The daughter noticed her mother's quiet eyes. She wanted to ask again about the man in the black car, but she knew her mother would not answer. So, she ate silently, her mind full of questions. After sending her daughter to school, the mother sat alone by the window. She looked outside, but her eyes were far away. They were not seeing the street, they were looking into the past, a past she had buried but could never erase. Years ago, she was not just a poor woman. She was young, full of dreams, and worked in a large company. She was shy at first, but hardworking. Many people ignored her, but one man noticed her efforts. That man was none other than the CEO. Back then, he was not as cold as today. He was strong, confident, but also kind. He respected her when others did not. His smile once gave her courage. His words once gave her strength. Slowly, their paths crossed more often. She would bring files to his office, and he would thank her warmly. Sometimes, he would ask about her life, and she would blush, not knowing how much to say. A strange bond began to grow, something she never expected. But life is not always kind. One day, she overheard whispers in the office. People were talking behind her back, calling her names, saying she wanted to trap the CEO for money. The rumors spread like fire. The kindness between her and him was twisted into lies. The CEO changed too. His warm voice turned cold. His smile disappeared. He became silent with her. She tried to explain, tried to tell him the truth, but his silence hurt her more than any harsh word. Her world collapsed. She left the company with tears in her eyes, her heart broken. She never went back. But she carried something with her, not money, not power, but a child. Her daughter. The only treasure she had. Now, sitting by the window in the present, she touched her daughter's old school bag and whispered, "I gave up everything, but I never gave you up." Her daughter was the reason she stayed strong. The reason she worked hard every day. But deep inside, the pain of the CEO's silence never left her. And yesterday, when she saw him again, all the wounds of the past opened wide. His silence once again screamed louder than words. At school, the daughter sat quietly, her chin resting on her hands. She noticed her mother's sadness and kept thinking, "There is something Mama is not telling me." When the bell rang, she walked home slowly, planning to ask again. Her little heart was restless. She wanted answers. When she reached home, she found her mother sitting in the corner, holding an old wooden box. The daughter tilted her head curiously. "Mama, what is in the box?" The mother quickly closed it, hiding what was inside. She forced a smile. "Nothing, my child. Just old memories." The girl narrowed her eyes. She knew her mother was hiding something. She wanted to see inside that box, but she stayed quiet, for now. That night, when the daughter slept, the mother opened the wooden box again. Inside were a few letters, a faded photo, and a broken watch. The photo showed a younger version of herself, standing beside the CEO. Her fingers trembled as she touched the picture. A tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered softly, "Why did you never listen? Why did you believe their lies?" She put the photo back and closed the box, locking it with a small key. But she did not know her daughter was half awake, watching from the bed. The little girl had seen the photo. She had seen the man's face, the same man from the black car. Her heart raced. Now she knew her mother was hiding something big. Far away, in his office, the CEO sat alone too. He opened his drawer and pulled out the same kind of photo. He looked at it for a long time, his face unreadable, his silence heavy. He whispered to himself, "I should have listened. I should have asked her. But now it's too late." Yet his eyes showed something else, regret, pain, and a secret longing he could not erase. Back in the small home, the daughter closed her eyes tightly, pretending to sleep. But her mind was racing. She had seen enough to know her mother and the CEO shared a past. She promised herself quietly, "I will find out the truth. No matter what Mama says." The silence between them was no longer just confusing, it was dangerous. And it was pulling her deeper into a story she was not ready to hear. The days passed, but the daughter's mind did not rest. Every time she looked at her mother, she remembered the photo inside the wooden box. The same man, the same face, the same eyes she had seen in the black car. Her mother tried to act normal, cooking, working, smiling, but the girl noticed the sadness in her eyes. The silence in the house was louder than words. One night, as the mother tucked her into bed, the daughter whispered, "Mama, who is he? The man in the photo." The mother froze. Her lips trembled. You saw it." The daughter nodded slowly. Yes, Mama. Why didn't you tell me? Who is he? But the mother turned away, her eyes filling with tears. Some stories are too heavy for a child. Sleep, my love. Forget what you saw. The girl's small voice shook with frustration. But Mama, I cannot forget. The mother kissed her forehead, whispering, please, don't ask again. And with that, she blew out the lamp, leaving the room in darkness. But the daughter did not sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her heart full of questions. Why was her mother hiding the truth? Why did the CEO keep her mother's photo in his office too? The next day, after school, the daughter made a decision. She would find out the truth herself. She told her mother she was staying late at school for extra lessons. Instead, she quietly followed the tall building she had once seen in the city center, the place where she believed the man worked. Her small feet carried her nervously through the busy streets. She clutched her school bag tightly, her heart racing. She had never done anything like this before, but curiosity gave her courage. When she reached the towering glass building, she stood frozen. It looked so big, so powerful, like a palace made of steel. People in suits walked in and out quickly, their faces serious. She took a deep breath and followed inside. Nobody noticed her, she looked too small, too ordinary to matter. Inside, everything sparkled, marble floors, golden lights, shining elevators. She had never seen anything so grand. Her heart beat faster. She saw the CEO step out of an elevator, his tall figure commanding the room. He walked silently, with the kind of presence that made people bow slightly as he passed. The daughter quickly hid behind a pillar, her eyes wide. She followed him carefully, keeping her distance. He entered his office, a huge room with glass walls overlooking the city. The door closed behind him. The daughter waited, her little hands trembling. After a few minutes, she saw a cleaner walk out of the office, leaving the door slightly open. Quietly, she tiptoed closer and peeked inside. The CEO was standing by his desk, staring at something in his hands. Her heart stopped when she saw what it was, a photo. And not just any photo. It was the same picture she had seen in her mother's wooden box. Her mother was in it, young and smiling, standing close to him. The girl gasped softly. She covered her mouth, afraid he might hear. The CEO sat down heavily in his chair, still staring at the photo. His eyes looked sad, his silence heavy. He whispered softly, "Why did you leave me? Why did you never tell me the truth?" The daughter's eyes filled with tears. She had never seen a man so powerful look so broken. His silence was full of pain, and now she knew, her mother and this man shared more than just a past. Suddenly, the CEO turned his head slightly, as if he had sensed something. The girl panicked and pulled back, her small heart pounding like a drum. She ran quietly down the hallway and out of the building, her legs shaking. When she finally reached home, she collapsed on the bed, breathing heavily. Her mother rushed to her side. "My child, what happened? Why are you so tired?" The daughter shook her head quickly, hiding the truth. "Nothing, Mama. I just ran too much." But inside, she was burning with secrets. She knew now that her mother had not told her everything. She knew the CEO still carried her mother in his heart. And she knew she could not stay silent anymore. That night, as she lay beside her mother, she stared at the ceiling once again. She whispered to herself, "I saw him today. I saw the photo. I know he remembers, Mama. I know his silence is not empty." The mother, half asleep, stirred at her daughter's whisper. She did not understand the meaning of those words. But soon, she would. Because the daughter's curiosity had already pulled her too deep. And soon, the truth would no longer stay hidden. The night was restless. The daughter had seen too much, and the weight of her secret pressed heavily on her young heart. She turned on her bed, watching her mother sleep peacefully beside her, unaware of what had happened. The girl whispered softly to herself, "He still remembers Mama, he still keeps her photo. Why is Mama hiding the truth? Why is he silent?" She closed her eyes, but her thoughts didn't let her rest. The next morning, the mother prepared breakfast like always. She hummed softly, pretending life was normal. But her daughter's sharp eyes noticed the sadness hiding behind her smile. The daughter wanted to speak, to tell her mother what she had seen at the CEO's office. But she feared it might hurt her. So, she stayed quiet, waiting for the right time. Meanwhile, the CEO sat alone in his office, his mind trapped between past and present. He had held her photo again last night, and memories of their time together came flooding back. He whispered to himself, after all these years, destiny has brought her before me again. But why is she running from me? Why is she hiding? His silence had lasted too long. Now, he felt an urge to break it. Days later, fate once again brought them face to face. The mother and daughter were walking back from the market when the same black car stopped near them. The CEO stepped out this time, his tall figure casting a shadow on the street. The mother froze. Her heart began to race. She grabbed her daughter's hand tightly, whispering, "Come, let's go." But before she could move, the CEO spoke. His voice was deep, steady, but filled with pain. "Wait." The mother stopped in her tracks. For years, she had heard only silence from him. Now, a single word shook her entire world. Her daughter looked up at the man, her heart pounding. He spoke, finally he spoke, she thought. The CEO took a slow step forward, his eyes fixed on the woman he had once known. "I never forgot," he said softly. His voice trembled, betraying the emotions he had buried for so long. The mother's lips parted, but no words came out. She looked away, fighting the tears in her eyes. The daughter, standing between them, felt confused and scared. "Mama," she whispered, "what is happening?" The mother squeezed her hand. "Nothing, my child. We need to go." But the CEO's voice stopped her again. "Why did you leave? Why didn't you tell me the truth?" The mother's breath caught. Her shoulders shook as if those words had unlocked years of hidden pain. The daughter looked from one to the other, her eyes wide. "Mama, he knows you. Why didn't you tell me?" The mother's silence was louder than her voice. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She finally turned to the CEO, her voice breaking. "It doesn't matter now. Too much time has passed. The past is gone." But the CEO shook his head firmly. "The past is never gone. Not when it lives inside us every day." The street grew quiet. People passed by, unaware of the storm that was unfolding between three souls. The daughter pulled on her mother's arm. "Mama, please, tell me the truth. I saw his photo in your box. I saw the same photo in his office. Don't hide it from me anymore." The mother's heart sank. She had hoped to protect her daughter from this truth, but the secret was already breaking apart. The CEO looked at the girl, his expression softening. His eyes grew wet, and for a moment, he could not speak. Finally, he whispered, "I lost her once. I don't want to lose her again." The daughter's breath caught. She didn't fully understand his words, but she felt the weight in them. The mother shook her head fiercely. "No. Don't say that. She doesn't need to know. Not now." The CEO's voice rose, filled with emotion. "She deserves to know. She deserves the truth." Silence filled the air once again, but this time it was different. It was not empty. It was heavy with secrets, love, and regret. The daughter clutched her mother's hand tightly, looking from one face to the other. "Mama, please. What truth?" The mother closed her eyes. Her tears fell freely now. She whispered, almost too softly to hear, "The truth is, his silence was not anger. It was love. A love that was broken by lies." The daughter gasped. She looked at the CEO, then at her mother, her mind spinning with questions. The CEO stepped closer, his voice shaking. "I never stopped caring. Even when you walked away. Even when the world turned against us. I kept your memory alive in my silence." The mother broke down, covering her face with her hands. The daughter held her, her own eyes wet with confusion and fear. The scene ended with three hearts bound together, one hiding, one searching, and one caught in between. The silence had finally been broken, but what followed was even more dangerous. Because now, the daughter knew there was a hidden connection between her mother and the CEO, a connection that could change everything. The air was heavy after that confrontation. The mother, the daughter, and the CEO stood frozen on the street, the silence pressing down on them like a storm about to break. The daughter's small hand gripped her mother's tightly, her heart racing. She looked at her mother with pleading eyes. "Mama, please. Tell me everything. I can't live with half-truths anymore." The mother's lips trembled. She wanted to stay silent, to protect her daughter from the pain of the past. But the truth had already escaped into the open. She could no longer run. With tears in her eyes, she whispered, "You are old enough now to know. You deserve to hear it." The CEO's eyes softened, filled with regret. He took a step closer, but his voice was low, almost breaking. "Yes, she should know. She has the right." The daughter's chest tightened. "Know what?" she asked, her voice trembling. The mother closed her eyes and began slowly, her voice heavy with pain. "Years ago, before you were born, I worked for him. He was kind to me. He saw me when no one else did. And for a time, he loved me. And I loved him." The daughter's eyes widened. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought everyone could hear it. The mother continued, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But people in the company were cruel. They spread lies, saying I wanted his wealth, his power. He grew distant. He stopped speaking to me. His silence, it broke me. I left, and I never looked back." The daughter's voice shook. "And me, Mama? What about me?" The mother's tears fell harder. She could barely whisper the words. You are the reason I survived. When I left, I was already carrying you in my heart. I raised you alone, with no help, because I didn't want his world to touch you." The CEO's face turned pale. His breath caught in his throat. He stepped forward, his voice trembling. You mean, she is, my..." The mother nodded weakly, unable to meet his eyes. The daughter gasped, her small body trembling. She looked at the CEO, then at her mother, her mind spinning. He is my father." Silence. A silence so deep, it felt like the world had stopped moving. The CEO's eyes filled with tears. For years, he had lived with regret, believing she had betrayed him, believing she had left him for nothing. Now, the truth stood before him in flesh and blood, his daughter. He dropped to his knees in front of the girl, his powerful frame suddenly broken, vulnerable. His voice cracked. "All these years, I never knew. I was silent because I thought you had chosen to leave me. I thought there was nothing left. But I was wrong. I lost not only you," he looked at the mother, "I lost her too." He placed a trembling hand over his heart. The daughter's eyes filled with tears. She did not know whether to run into his arms or hide behind her mother. Her world had shifted in a single moment. The mother cried silently, holding her daughter close. "I only wanted to protect her. I didn't want her to suffer what I suffered." The CEO looked up at her, pain burning in his eyes. "You protected her, but you kept me in darkness. Do you know how many nights I asked myself why? Why you left without a word? Why you never told me?" The mother shook her head. "Would you have believed me then? You chose to believe the lies. Your silence destroyed me." Her words cut deep, but they were the truth. The CEO lowered his head, ashamed. The daughter, caught between them, spoke softly. "Stop, please stop. Mama, he was wrong, but he is still my father. And you, Mama, you are my everything. I don't want to lose either of you." Her voice, innocent yet powerful, silenced them both. The CEO wiped his tears and whispered, "You will not lose me again. I promise. I will not stay silent anymore." The mother looked at him, her heart torn between pain and love. After all these years, the man she once loved was back, broken, but still carrying the same emotions. The sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of gold and red. The small family stood together, their lives changed forever. The silence that once destroyed them had now revealed the truth. It was not just silence, it was regret, love, and hidden pain. The daughter held her mother's hand tightly, then reached out with her other hand to the CEO. Slowly, hesitantly, the mother allowed it. For the first time, all three stood connected. Nobody on the street knew the storm that had passed through their lives. Nobody knew the power of silence that had shaped their destiny. But for the mother, her daughter, and the CEO, the final revelation had come. And nothing would ever be the same again.